Hey everyone, welcome back to another Maraudon video. Today I'm just going to go over one of my runs that I did earlier today. I've been boosting um, primarily later at night on my server Atiesh, usually charging between 40 and 50 gold per run. I just kind of wanted to go through one of the um, runs that I did earlier tonight and just kind of go through some pointers to see any changes that I've made. Um, so this is just a video of my run. So that first mob there, I actually go and I actually just run up to and I just melee him. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and Hammer of Justice one of these guardians. I only use the 3-second version of it, so he's not too far behind. Then I Holy Shock that pack over here, and you can actually just melee that group, but I went ahead and just judged. I think I ended up meleeing him, and then you just continue on through the path. This group is coming up here. You're going to want to pull with a ranged ability. So you can go ahead and just run to the side of them like this, and then either just melee them, a mob in the back, or you can do a turnaround and judgment or holy shock as they're running away from you. Um, And then this pack, I think I actually mess up this. I think I missed this. No, I ended up hitting it. There's one of these where I didn't quite get the pull in time. Yeah, so I didn't have judgment up there, so I just ended up using a rough dynamite to pull him. That was a mistake on my part. Usually I judge that group that I dynamited, and then I holy shock that group I just judged, and then I just come in here and do a melee, but the other one already aggroed to me, so that worked out. And then over here, I go ahead and Holy Shock this Dimitrodon. You can also judge him if you're close enough, and if it's off cooldown. And then coming up here, I usually melee that Dimitrodon, and then I will go ahead and either judge or use Hammer of Justice on the big ad. On these boars, I think I end up, yeah, use Holy Shock there, and then I use Judgment to pull those Dimitrodons. Everything's coming off cooldown. I think I'll use Hammer of Justice on this Guardian. And then drop a rank 1 consecration to pull those deep bores because my judgment wasn't off cooldown yet. Um, so from here, you basically want to just save your Holy Shock for the group of Dimitrodons up around the corner. So I will judge that boar pack typically, and then make your way up here, and you'll use Holy Shock um, or Dense Dynamite, or a Dynamite depending on where the mob pack is, because um, those rock guardians are there, I went ahead and used a rough dynamite to pull them, and it would pull both of the packs with the one ability. So having rough dynamite or easy throw dynamite or explosive rockets from a quest in Elwyn Forest is really nice to have here. There's sometimes a pack that comes from this area around here. Most of the time I don't get it, but sometimes I do, so it's an extra 10-15 mobs. But I don't get it here, so that's unfortunate. So from here, you can just go ahead and aggro those mobs, and then use Blessing of Protection. You should have plenty of time to make your way around and jump off the ledge here. Make sure that you wait there for until you've got about 2 seconds left, and then make the jump because you don't want to take any damage from making this fall. I found that with my like 4,300 health pool, I take about 580 damage, so you can kind of do the math to figure out how much health you will need to have to make that jump. But from here, once that wears off, I'll go ahead and use a Divine Favor or just a Flash of Light just to heal myself up. Reapply your Blessing of Wisdom, and then wait for the mobs to pat around from the bridge. Um, just a thing to note here, I do have Swiftness of Zanza on, as well as my Devotion Aura. Um, I will post a link to my gear and talents in the description. Um, but then you want to make sure that you pull the previous Dimitrodon pack as well as that Shardling pack that is coming along from this area. And then I like to judge them as I'm running away. You can always Holy Shock yourself to keep yourself alive. And coming around the bend here, I think I'll just go ahead and judge that Dimitrodon. And now we are in the Hydra area. So as a paladin, you really want to avoid Hydras as much as you can because they always have the possibility of knocking you off the platform in the kill room. So as you see, I kind of took that long route there. So I'll go through that again. So Because we have the mob pack behind us, we want to make sure that the trail of mobs is going to be avoiding where these hydras are, because the hydras will socially aggro, which means that whenever a hostile mob towards you runs through the passive mob, the hydra, it will aggro towards you. So I make that long loop around the first one, excuse me, and then I go ahead and make a loop around the second one, and we're good to go. Um, so I got lucky there. This hydra will always pull. You can't really get around that, but it's ends up being all right. Only having one means that you've got not that high of a chance of getting knocked off. Um, so here you want to use your first swiftness potion, and I actually didn't here, and just goes to show you that even if you do mess up, it's still okay. So I think I realized right about now, it's like, oh shit, my swiftness potion. So I'll judge this one. Actually, I think I missed that judgment, or that holy shock. And then I come up here, I think I judge him. Come around the bend here, I will Hammer of Justice. I still have a few seconds left of my Swiftness Potion, so I actually have enough time to come over here and pull with a Rough Dynamite. You want to make sure that you stay there long enough for the Rough Dynamite cast to go off. If you're using Explosive Rockets, those are instant, so you can just cast it and be on your way. I think I end up not pulling that group right away, but they will pull later on. You'll see in the video where uh, there's a pack of boars that were way far behind. Um, so I go ahead and I use my Divine Shield after I pull those packs, and then I jump up against this wall, and while you're in the air against the wall, the mobs don't have a path to you, so they'll stop running. So see how they all stopped right there? That gives me enough time to make my distance with my Divine Shield and my Swiftness Sansa, so uh, we can make this turn relatively easily. Before, I was always really close before I was doing that jump. It was, within the last half second that I gained the necessary distance to not be attacked by the larger rock guardians, which can stun you, and if they stun you, then you're dead, um, because the mob pack is right behind you. So from now, we're just making our way around. I'll take this time to kind of talk about a little bit about grouping the mobs up. So if you see here, I have a pretty large lead ahead of the mobs in front of me. So I'm taking this wide path around. So I could have just ran straight for the ramp here, but instead I chose to kind of make my way towards the wall and then kind of slowly turn up here. So the mob pack collapses nicely against each other. And then I go on to the left here because as a human, you're able to walk through the water um, without the mobs freezing on you. Make sure you avoid Celebrus the Cursed, and as you can see, the mob pack is pretty tightly grouped. So now we're making our way through uh, the next little bit here. See, nice and tightly grouped there. For these slimes up here, I like to either use a rank 1 Consecration or a Judgment, but want to make sure that the mob pack behind me is close enough. So I end up using a rank 1 Judgment there, or Consecration, sorry. Um, and then I only pull the lurkers because the shamblers can heal themselves, and it makes for a lot messier of a kill phase for like an additional 3 or 4 mobs. So I just don't think it's worth it. I don't end up pulling them. The boosties have never complained, so I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback. I ended up using my Zanza there because I only had 2 minutes left on my previous one. I just didn't want to forget in the um, craziness of the next part. So go up here, pull these slimes. I like to attack the middle one. That will aggro all of them. I'll holy shock myself here if I need to. I can melee one of those slimes, drop back down immediately, attack the slimes in the corner there, pick up any stragglers like such. And as you can see, the the deep borers uh, are here, and I was really confused. I'm like, what are these doing here? So I think this is the pack that I missed originally from before. It isn't a big deal. They can't really stun me. Um, that's the big thing. So from this point, I actually go and I take a long route and I walk into this little cubby area. And when the mobs are getting close to me, they'll kind of come this way and then come in. I'll use my or my blessing of protection. It's 10 seconds, or I think 9 seconds. Avoid those dryads there. The um, the sisters, they look like centaurs. I avoid them just because they can attack you from afar when you're jumping back and forth in the kill phase. Um, but while I was talking, I ended up, so we come through here, we use our Blessing of Protection, we avoid the sisters, and then when we're at about 5 or 4 seconds, we use a Swiftness Potion to get away from the pack. Um, and this will give you enough time later on as well to pull an additional couple mobs later on, closer to the kill phase. You should have enough time in your Swiftness Potion to start your way up this ramp. I'll pull those slimes to either a Judgment or a Melee, and then you want to pull these sludges as soon as you can with a Holy Shock. If not all of them pull, you need to pull at least these three here, 1, 2, 3, with a Consecration, because when these pull via social aggro, they will reset, and they will also reset the mobs that uh, originally pulled them. So you want to pull them before any mobs get close to them. So I check to make sure they're all targeting me, and they are. So that way I know that they're all aggroed to me. I'll pull this pack with a dense dynamite, and this pack, or with a rough dynamite, sorry, and this pack over here with a exorcism. You can, if you'd like, try to pull these mobs here. If Meshlock is padding, for example, you can try to do a hammer of justice on him before or after you exorcism this pack of satyrs. I chose not to just because anything that makes the mob uh, or makes the run a bit more difficult, I found out it's just not worth it in the end. All my runs on the PTR, an extra 5 or 10 mobs isn't going to make or break the boosting experience if you're consistent and you do things in a timely manner. I think I ended up popping the wrong ability there. I used my Divine Illumination when I should have instead used my rank 1 Consecration. This part here, I come up here and I'm actually going to jump onto this ledge. I'm going to angle my camera down and I'm going to tab target. It will automatically target this trickster, and I will rank 1 Holy Shock him as I jump across to the next one. So jump, tab target, Holy Shock, and then I make my way across. I melee that Corruptor, drop a rank 1 Consecration in the doorway to pull the Shadow Stalkers there, and then I will judge that Tangler over there in the corner. That jump there is very technical, and I would practice this before you attempt um, the the entire run. I would practice doing this jump specifically. So you basically want to run and jump up. You start your jump about a yard or two before you get to the wall, so that when you uh, are in the air, you will actually your momentum will keep you running forward, and you'll kind of float around the wall and land in this little area here. So jump, and then I pop my ZG trinket because I'm going to heal myself up with a holy shock. But you should be able to land there, and then you can heal yourself with a holy shock. If you wanted to, you can stop and maybe do a flash of light, get yourself up a little higher. I chose not to. I think I decided here to use a holy shock later on to heal myself. But here I'm going to go ahead and exercise that group and holy shock that group there. And then you can make your way around that brazier. I end up not pulling that Tangler, I believe, and instead opt to pull this one with a Judgment because it's up. And then at this point, I use a rank 4 Consecration. Sorry, rank 3 Consecration. And you should have just enough time to pop another one before you get to this pack here. These will aggro socially, so you don't need to pull them. I'm going to actually exercise that pack there. This pack will pull socially as well. The Stompers won't pull, not a big deal. They have a chance to War Stomp and stun you for 5 seconds, so I try not to pull as many of them as possible. So later on, so after you do this exorcism here, uh, you're going to want to Holy Shock this group up here, and then pop a Speed Potion right after you do so, or right before. So as you can see, I pop my Speed Potion, and I used Holy Shock on that Corruptor. At this point, you're actually in range of the boosties. I should have mentioned that earlier. So the reason I started dropping Consecrations early is because I wanted to damage the mobs enough so that when I get to the first part of the kill phase, most of the non-elites are dead, and that will make the rest of the run a lot smoother. So I pop my Speed Potion, and at this point you're going to want to make your way around the corner here into this little area, pull those imps with a Exorcism, and then run your way back into the kill room. I like to jump at the very end of my Swiftness Potion to get a little bit of extra distance. I'll judge that group in the corner there. You could also use Holy Shock if you'd like, if you have enough mana and enough health. I make a long way around the bridge here. That only really works if you've got the mobs nice and tightly packed, which Paladins should be able to do. And then I drop a rank 3 Consecration right there in that little path, so that when I come up here and aggro these sprites and then jump off, everything gets hit by that Consecration. Everything that has, because everything has to go through that doorway. Um, those satyrs there will actually aggro socially. As you can see, they were there, now they're facing me, so they're coming towards me. These corruptors could be a little bit more towards the boosties, so you might need to exercise them. I actually wait here and I drop a rank 3 consecration on that little bit as well. And then you can get ready for a divine favor. I think I do flash a light here, just to get yourself topped off a little bit, because once you get to this phase, you're going to want to take a few hits. So I'd recommend trying to make your way up to the base of this bridge, dropping like a rank 3 consecration before most of the mobs get to you, then running all the way back here, waiting for the most of the mobs to get to you, use your divine shield, and then go through the kill phase. So really quick, I think I come up here, I drop a rank 4 or rank 3 consecration, get some damage down to the imps, make my way over here, and then I'm waiting until a decent chunk of the mobs are close to me, um, and then I'm going to use my divine shield, my consecration max rank, my Xandalian hero charm. You want to use your Xandalian hero charm after you catch your consecration, so that the consecration has the max increase in spell power from the hero charm. And after you pop a hero charm, I then do a Holy Wrath. So as you can see, I use my Divine Shield, then I just cast my Consecration, then I use my ZG Trinket, I'm using Holy Wrath, and then I go into a Dense Dynamite at the very end to finish off the smaller mobs. I drop a Consecration at the very end to get a bit extra damage off. If a Shambler is trying to heal himself, I like to just kill him right away. I just use Holy Shock and let my Consecration do the rest. And at this point, the mobs should be pretty tightly grouped. And this is very similar to the mage strategy, where you drop a consecration and you just run back and forth and let the mobs run through it. So with the mage, it's actually a little bit different because you want the mobs to stay as far away from you as possible, and you can actually slow them. Um, so I come through here, I kite back and forth, kite back and forth, kite back and forth. A lot of the mobs are getting close. I'm basically waiting for my forbearance to wear off. I think I get stunned here. Yeah, so this is really close. If you get knocked down and stunned, you want to make sure that you either have a, a bubble ready or a swiftness potion ready. In this case, I only have a swiftness potion. So, you want to make sure that you can use your swiftness potion as soon as you get off the ledge. I've got 8 seconds left in forbearance. I got too close to that shambler there, and I really shouldn't have. Instead, I should have just waited on the pillar for a little bit more, took a few hits from these lizards, and then jumped back. But I didn't, and I almost paid the price. So I end up making my way to this area, and this is where just practicing this jump back and forth, um, testing on the PTR, I would recommend, is really helpful because you know kind of where you have to go to land on this. I think I end up, uh, yeah, so I end up coming down, and I pop a Swiftness Potion, and I hug the left because I know that most of the mobs were previously on top of the bridge, kind of right here, um, and they can hit you if they're on top of the bridge. So as you see, I got way too close to that Shambler. Making my way over here, I'm at 808 health. I get hit a few more times, I think. 766, and at this point, I pop a Swiftness Potion. I use a Holy Shock on myself, I think. Actually, I might just Holy Light. Yeah, I Holy Shock, and then I drop a rank 4 Consecration. Um, from here, I basically try to just get as far away from the mobs as possible. So I end up using the Divine Illumination to get a Holy Light off, because at this point I know that a few of the mobs are going to be close to death, so they're not going to be running as fast as the rest of the mob pack. So I know that I will end up encountering them in the hallway later on. Um, so I wanted to make sure I have as much health as possible for that. I also I made sure that I had a fresh Blessing of Wisdom up. And now you want to hug the wall, take as short a route as possible to this area here. I know mobs are coming right through here that are heavily damaged. um, and you want to essentially make your way to them. So this trickster, I end up just using an exorcism on. I missed this jump the first time. If you jump from back here, you can actually jump around this route, and all these mobs, because they're super slow, are going to have to go around and then pat to you. So I missed this jump. I end up getting knocked down. I end up just running through them because there aren't too many of them. As a paladin, you have a lot of armor. I stun that Shambler because he's able to knock me down, and I cleanse the poison. And then from here, I've kind of averted that crisis. Um, I try to throw dynamite, but I don't think I'm successful. Yeah, target out of line of sight. I take a longer route so that not as many mobs are underneath me. And then I drop a rank 3 consecration to get some damage out on the mobs. At this point, I have Blessing of Protection up, so I'm just waiting to do another path around before I can use it. Drop a consecration there in the doorway because the mobs get a little more tightly packed. Drop another one over on this ledge like I did before. And then, yeah, just to show you the kill count and the kill time, I think I reset my kill track add-on right before I pulled, so it's not as accurate, but I'm at 13 minutes right now, so it's probably 14 minutes since I zoned in. End up jumping off. I see I've got a couple mobs coming up to me. I end up, I think, just killing one. I think I just drop a consecration here. And then I drop down. I know I have my Blessing of Protection up, so I'm going to go ahead and heal myself first, cast Blessing of Protection first, and then come over here, cast my Consecration, cast my Holy Wrath, and hop back onto the safe spot. At this point, having mana potions are very helpful, so I end up using one here, and I also use my Dense Dynamite to deal some extra damage. And from here, we're just going back into the kill phase. I'm a bit more careful this time to make sure that the mobs are not close enough to me to hit me. So then I just kite back and forth, let the mobs get kind of close. I don't have the proper trinket equipped. I should be using my Rejuve gem that I have, but instead I have my Ramstein's Lightning Bolts. And I believe I use it here. And you'll see how many immunes you get because the Shardlings, pretty much everything in here is immune to nature damage. So I think I try to do it here. You see all those immunes. So there were quite a few that didn't affect. Then you jump back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I Holy Shock that Subterranean Dimitrodon. Come through here, drop another rank 3 Consecration. Jump back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And this is, once you're at this point, you know you have the kill. Just be careful. You can take hits from the mobs down underneath. I would only recommend not taking them if there are a large amount of them, and one of them is either one of the larger rock elementals or one of the shamblers or lurkers, because they can knock you down. I end up just healing myself because I can just face tank the rest of these, drop my max rate consecration, and just kind of go to town. I'm gonna stop the video once everything is done. I end up stunning that while the generation, and the run is finished at 15:27. Oh, of course, it was just off. Let's see if I can show that again. The run's finished. 15:27, killed 315 mobs. Um, and if your boosties don't end up wanting to loot, you can do this a lot faster. So yeah, since I started the video, it was a 15-minute, 30-second from pull to kill. So roughly 17 minutes for the actual since zoning in. So now you can just loot and, go on your merry way. As you can see, I've got about 10,000 gold right now. When I started doing this, I had about 3,400, I think. Then when Patch dropped, very, 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 I guess, early on Wednesday morning because of all the technical difficulties, um, we had a bunch of people that were working on getting our shamans up to level 40 as quickly as possible. So they boosted all day. They did the um, hunter pet boosting strategy to 15. Then I think they went into stockades and then hit SM for a while. Um, by uh, by the end of the night on Wednesday, they were high enough to go into Maraudon. And in Mara, I was able to. Actually, no, I think it was end of the night Thursday because I left Thursday. Anyway, I boosted from level 40 to 48, pretty much all of our guild shamans here in Mara, and I there was one guy in particular that I was focused on boosting on. He was trying to get number one on the server. He ended up getting number two, so a good effort, but he couldn't stay awake for as long as the other guy could. But it only took me about 7 hours to do um, level 40 to 48 here in Mara. Um, and that's me doing like roughly 18-minute runs a piece. I don't know the math. I ended up having like it was like 9 or 10,000 mob kills, um, and assuming roughly 300, um, 300 mobs a run. It was about 30 runs of Mara in about 7 hours, 7.5 hours. So pretty cool. We ended up finishing right around or a little after midnight on or this past week, and so I took a break for a few days. I was out of town, and then I came in here to actually try to make some money. And I started off by charging 35 gold a run. The group filled pretty quickly. People were not really sure. Hey, it's a paladin. Can you actually do this? They said, "Wow, this is actually faster than mages." And I kind of just went with what the current server price was. Most I've charged is 50 a run. It's usually somewhere around 40 or 45. And so I've made about 7,000 gold in probably 4 days of doing this. Um, so this is obviously a very once in a server kind of situation where you've got all these people trying to get to level 60 as quickly as possible. So everyone's going to be handing you their money to get here into Mara, and it's definitely something that I'm going to try to continue to take advantage of, help people get to level 60 before TBC drops. And I've actually this paladin here is in my guild, so or it's an alt in a guild, so I've been boosting him for free. Usually have one or two in from the guild that I'm boosting as well as people that I'm charging. Um, so it's been very profitable. Highly recommend if you're able to do it. I'll have a link to my talents and to my gear setup in the description. I think I'm rocking about 640 spell power here, so that really helps with the consecration damage. Um, but aside from that, I hope you enjoyed the video. A little bit more in-depth walkthrough, a little bit more commentary about my experience with making gold. Hope you liked it, and feel free to like and subscribe to the video if you enjoyed the content. And I'll be making more content come TBC, and maybe with some more updates with my gold making endeavors here in the pre-patch. So until next time, thanks for watching and have a good one.